Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Give us a few minutes as West Nile gets ready. Now we are going to have a prayer from West Nile. So the team you are seeing on your screen is a team from West Nile. It has the head teachers from the West Nile, from the districts of Koboko. West Nile, kindly greet us.
Mr. Kazira, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Ronald, you are very clear.
Just give us a minute to get the microphones ready. Which screen? Which screen? Which screen?
Okay. Okay. Members, I'm going for the it's
We want to have all the schools that are joining in from the different parts of the country. Thank you so much for joining in this session. We are just waiting for a few minutes.
Yeah, hold on. Have you managed? Have you managed?
Stephen.
Yes, Carol.
Yeah, yes, it's Carol here.
You come on from the small. You don't want to keep the.
I have a team of Zambia that has joined in, and they are not getting the audio sounds clearly.
Okay, let me check.
Yes, the Zambia team is online.
Okay. Which names are they using, Carol? Because I'm seeing some microphones are not on.
Somebody has dropped a message in the chat room. Yeah, maybe we can check in there.
Okay. Oh, okay. Technical. Okay. Oh, okay. Carol.
Yes, Stephen.
They are using Technopop. Now, let them join using audio. Their audio is off, so they cannot hear us.
So let to work on their gadget.
Yes. I've sent them a message. Hope they can join using their audio.
Okay, beautiful.
Mr. Kazula, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Ronald, get closer to your microphone.
Let me increase the volume. What about there?
Better.
Okay, sister, is ready to pray? Can we go ahead?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Members, let us humble ourselves and we pray. God our Father, we'd like to thank you for the gift of this moment, for the gift of one another, for the gift of our career as teachers. We are gathered here in this meeting to learn from one another, to enhance our knowledge, to enable us to perform the task assigned to each one of us. I pray that you open our hearts, open our minds, so that we remain receptive to what we are going to share in this meeting. Keep us attentive, inspire our facilitators in this meeting so that we are able to learn and relearn to help us perform our tasks better. For the good of our learners, for the good of our nation. Through Christ our Lord, amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Thank you, sir. May I request our chairperson?
Thank you so much, sister, for the word of prayer. Next on our agenda, we are going to have the welcoming remarks from the Ministry of Education and Sports. Mr. Ronald, kindly confirm that you are ready.
Yes, Mr. Kazima, the chairperson will say a few remarks and then I'll pick it up from there.
Mr. Ronald, get closer to the microphone.
Are you getting me with this?
Yes.
Okay, just hold on. Okay.
Mr. Ronald, we can't get the volume from your side. We can't hear.
Okay. Give us a minute.
My name is Omiko Wikoyita Okelo, and I am the regional chairperson of West Nile Region Achieve. We are thanking our desk officer, Mr. Ronald Lungo, for having given us an opportunity to be part of this meeting. We have been here in Koboko district for our annual general meeting, which had 3 parts. The first part was the regional council, which was held on the 4th. And then yesterday, we had presentations from experts on crucial issues that concern us, that concern leadership and management of our schools. I must say we benefited greatly from those presentations. And today we had our AGM, which is an annual event that brings together head teachers of both government and private schools. During the AGM, we also come together with our deputy head teachers whose capacities are built in the process. And so when we were given this opportunity, we were told by our desk officer that we are going to have a meeting after the AGM. We are all very excited. Right now, all members are expectant. We are ready to learn. And I believe that when we shall go back to our schools, we shall not remain the same. We are very grateful for the organizers for giving this opportunity to head teachers of the country. We are so thankful. May God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, West Nile. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here in West Nile for Hoko District. We are joining the head teachers of the region and had fantastic 2 days. I've also been in the region, observing what is happening. I'm happy that we are connected to you wherever you are, and I'm happy that Mr. Sandu is already on the call. So I will not go into anything more, but allow the discussion to start. Then at another time, towards the end, probably I'll come back to this. Thank you for hearing me, and over to you, Mr. President, for the presentation. Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Ronald?
I hand it over.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ronald, and thank you so much, the team from West Nile. With us, we have a mathematics professor we have the mathematics professor. Okay, sorry. With us, we have the mathematics professor. He's a lecturer at George Mason University. He is a STEM champion. He's the data scientist. He's a program director. He's an academic leader. He's a motivational speaker. He's an education consultant. He's a change maker as well as a social entrepreneur. With us, I want dear team to join me to welcome Professor Padu to take us through his presentation. Professor, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I want to make sure everybody is able to hear me. You can type on the chat, your response on the chat, say yes on the chat. That should be good. I want to make sure that you're all, okay, good. I see yeses coming in. So for starters, I would like to request you all to switch on your cameras so that we can take a group picture together. So everybody switch on your cameras, not your volume, just your cameras. If you can put me back on gallery mode, Stephen, and then okay, great. So can we all switch on our cameras, everybody? So let's take a group picture. So I will wait for everybody to switch on. Even if it is dark, it's okay in the background, but as long as that'll be great. I see a lot of groups. That's fantastic. Okay. And again, you can also, Stephen, oh, I see students. That's great, even better. Let's see. So, okay. So based on what I see on the screen, let me take my first picture. Okay, I have one picture. Just give me a second. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let me take one. I think there's a second screen also. And I see a lot of people. Oh, there's a third screen as well. But a lot of them are not switching on their cameras, which is okay. Great. I will just take, if you can switch on your cameras, you will be on the picture with us. So I'm going to switch on. I'm going to take one more picture and then we can start. Okay. Great. So let me save that as to, okay, great. Thank you. So let me now go back to sharing my screen here. Okay, and okay, I see that I'm assuming I see Caroline, you now, so that's great to see you. So good. Okay, so I'm assuming that you can all see my screen. I'm putting the chat box just to make sure that I can see your responses. I'd like in the different locations, at least one person to use a computer for the people that are sitting there. I see there are 73 participants online, but each one of those participants are in rooms with many other people. So let me go ahead and start. So Stephen, how much time do I have? I want to make sure I respect time. So I want to make sure, could you tell me how much time I have today?
Professor, I'm sending something in your chat.
Okay, great. So, okay. So let me make sure. Okay, great. 1 hour plus. Okay, thank you. Fantastic. So our medium today will be responding. I want to see responses through chat. And those of you that are sitting in a room with many other people, there can be one person typing for the responses that are coming. Okay, great. Wonderful. Let me go ahead and start with the wonderful picture that you see there. This was my memories from Uganda when Ronald and Caroline and several others hosted a meeting, and I was very fortunate to come and speak, actually do probably 3 sessions there. And you can see in the bottom left, the conference, members from Zambia, the permanent secretary right next to me here, members from, I believe, Ghana. And, so this was a nice meeting. And the best part was the kids in the back who presented really wonderful project-based learning ideas. And on the top right, you can see again with some of the kids and also one of the board members, I believe, of the commission. Now, on the top left, it was my really enjoyable day at the school in, I believe, in the area that I was in. Can someone name the school? On the top left is the students, on the top right is the teachers. Anyone name the school on the chat, please? It's hard to tell which school it is, but maybe you are there in the crowd and then you're, oh, Green Hill, there's Caroline. Yes, Green Hill. I had a pleasure to visit Green Hill, and you can see I enjoyed giving a talk to close to 300, maybe 400 students. And then I went to the department and worked with many, many teachers. And it was a very interesting, session. And I learned a lot, quite a bit, and hopefully walked away with lots of things that we can actually do together. Okay, So today's session and every session that I'm going to give, I want to make sure that you understand what I have on my screen here. Your mind is like a parachute, and it'll only work when it's open. Okay, that means, you have to be able to take risks. You have to make mistakes, and unfortunately, the educational system often penalizes, like if you get a wrong answer in mathematics, immediately you're given a 0 points. If you get a right answer, then you're given full points. So this binary system of like 0 points and full points, that's already a bad idea in an educational system. So we want to encourage thinking. And let me go ahead and start with a problem. I'm showing you a picture. On the left is dog 1. On the right is dog 2. Dog 1 grew from 5 kilograms to 8 kilograms. Dog 2 grew from 3 kilograms to 6 kilograms. Go ahead and type on the chat, the person that is manning the computer in each of the locations that you're joining from. What responses do you hear from the audience? And then type on the chat, please. Just say dog 1 or dog 2 or something else you think everybody's saying. Go ahead and type on the chat. My question to you is, okay, Hudson says none. So I'm assuming that means you mean they are the same. That's what you, okay. I see dog 2's coming, dog 2's, Wilbur. Keep typing. I know there are a lot of people here. Same. Dog 2, interesting. You see the diversity in the answers? Okay, dog 2, same growth. The same, dog 2. So all of them grew at the same rate. Isn't it interesting already that people are already having diverse opinion here? I won't have, I know somebody is raising their hand already. Could I take all questions? Oh, a dog grew faster. I don't know who raised their hand. It came on my screen for a second. I'm sometimes not able to see who's raising and who's not. Same rate in dog 2. So it's very interesting. There are 2 answers that are coming in. It's either same rate or dog 2. Okay. Now I have to tell you, oh, finally Infinix says dog 1. Okay, so there are 3 groups of people here. People that are selecting dog 1, people that are selecting dog 2, and people that are selecting same. I noticed that many people selected the same. Next comes people that selected dog 2. Next come people selected dog 1. Now, if this was an exam and I gave it to 100 people, I would say about 50% of you selected same. 40% of you selected dog 2, and 10% selected dog 1. Now the question is, who actually gets full points? If you were the education system of Uganda, which kid would you give points to? And how would you give it? That's the question to you. It's a challenge to the ministry, the challenge to the curriculum development, the challenge to the assessment people, challenge to the exam coordinators. Which kid gets points, right? Some of them fail, some of them pass today. If you think the same rate is the winner, then only 40%, only 50% of the crowd actually passed the test. If you say dog 2 was the winner, then only 40% of Uganda passed the test. If you say dog 1, then only 10% passed the test. Now, if we have that type of a thinking that, like, you get this answer, you get 0 points, or don't get 0 points, that's a bad way of assessment. And I'll talk about assessment not in today's lecture, but another lecture later on about how to incorporate assessment into curriculum development properly. So I have to tell you that all 3 answers are okay. It depends on who you are. Now, if you are studying in primary grades, little kid, I want you to ask this to all your children at home. I want you to ask all the kindergartners, first graders, second graders, what do you think they are going to pick? What do you think little kids will pick? Unfortunately, many of you sitting there are all secondary students, teachers, ministry. Unfortunately, you were not able to think like little children. Little children are probably going to look at this picture and see the size of the dog as they see it. And they will say, dog 1 grew more, because that's what they see in the picture. So sometimes we confuse children by making questions like this and then make them fail or not, or pass, which is again a bad way to teach, bad way to run an educational system. So be very careful in asking questions. That's my first message. It's not about mathematics. It's about asking good questions. This was a question in a national exam, and so many kids fail because the question could have multiple answers. So kids that said dog 1 is okay as long as they explain that in the picture, dog 1 seems to have grown bigger visually. Okay, they explain their facts. Now, the people that actually said both dogs grew the same, that was interesting. Now, moving from primary grades to middle school, as we call in the United States, I don't know, I think you call in Uganda maybe, I don't know if you call middle school, but lower secondary, they are actually kids that are 10 years, 11 years, 12 years of age, about 3rd grade to 6th grade or 7th grade and all that. Now, it turns out those kids will actually say the answer is the same. And why is that? Well, they do 5 kilograms became 8 kilograms. So I'm going to do 8 minus 5, which is 3. 3 kilograms grew to 6 kilograms. So 6 minus 3 is 3. So they do the mathematics and then they say 3 kilograms for dog 1, 3 kilograms for dog 2. So it is the same. Now, many of you in this crowd, 50% of you thought like younger children. Now, did you fail? Well, not really. It turns out that when we are teaching mathematics, first we teach addition and subtraction by counting, and then when you say 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is the same as 2 multiplied by 3, because repeated addition is multiplication. So we first teach addition and subtraction. So the younger children, say the middle school children, are going to say the dogs grew the same. Interestingly, today, 50% of the crowd said the dogs grew the same. Will you penalize that child? That's my question to all the exam makers here, right? And the graders and the teachers. Well, no, if the kid can explain exactly what they did. Now, we move from younger kids, really small kids, who are able to say visually the dog looks bigger, dog 1, to next level kids that is doing the mathematics, first level mathematics like addition and subtraction, and then noticing it's the same change, and then they are seeing. So in a way, they are also correct. But then some of you said dog 2 because you are adults and now you understand multiplication and division. So this idea in curriculum development is called learning progressions. Learning progression. How a child is learning in a systematic way through pictures, and slowly they learn techniques like addition, subtraction. Then you understand when you repeat the addition, it becomes multiplication and division. And so it is called learning progressions. If your curriculum is not integrating learning progression, that means a 4th grade child should see things from 4th grade and a little more. A 6th grade child should see everything from 5th grade and a little more. This idea of building it up is very, very important in the curriculum. If you don't do that well, then you're not, textbooks are a waste of time for children. The teaching is not done in an effective way. So it's about that teacher in the high school talking about middle school ideas that they already know and build on it. Right? That's something I wanted to tell you. So I want to make sure that everybody learned something from this very simple example. But then let's see why dog 2. Well, dog 2 grew from 5 kilograms to 8 kilograms. I'm sorry, dog 1 grew from 5 kilograms to 8 kilograms. Dog 2 grew from 3 kilograms to 6 kilograms. Those of you that said dog 2, you knew that a 3 kilogram dog becoming 6 kilograms is double the size, double, which means it's 100%. A 5 kilogram growing to 8 kilograms is not 100%, because if it were 100%, a 5 kilogram dog will grow to 10 kilograms, but it only grew to 8 kilograms. It was a less, so it's 5 times 2 or 3 times 2, right? So it is less. So those that are able to reason, explain their thinking that way, then they understand dog 2 grew more. Now, let me give you an example. If you go to a bank and deposit $500 today, and you go to another bank and you are able to deposit $300, you come back after a year, this particular bank has given you interest and it becomes $800. This bank has given you $600. Which bank will you deposit your money in? Now, you moved your thinking from a dog to money. When you think of money, you immediately realize, oh, this is doubling. My money is doubling. And here the money is not doubling. So I'm going to go to this bank. Now you're taking this to authentic problems. This idea of authenticity. Authenticity is real problems where you're applying it to your real life is the first step in project-based learning. Okay, is this idea of really taking this simple textbook problems to real challenges, real things that make a difference is the start of project-based learning. Okay. Before I move on, is this example clear? And you can just type a yes on the chat. So everybody did well today. Even though I said 50%, 40%, 10%, all of you passed the exam. Okay, good. So now that you understand this simple example, let's move on. So I want to actually teach you several things today. There will be technology tools, there will be frameworks, and of course, if I don't finish within an hour, I will be coming back. I promised Ronald and Stephen that I will come back. So today I will start with something very simple. I would need some players for me, and I would like to introduce you to my friend Google Jamboard. Okay. Now, if you have not used, this was my biggest friend during COVID. So what I want to do now is at each site that is listening to my talk, I'm going to put a link on the chat. I don't want everybody to jump on it, just the people, maybe one person at each site. I'm going to put it on the chat, and maybe Stephen, you can, or for example, Ronald, one person in that site, you can use it. So I'm going to put it on the chat. I would like you to join this. Click on this, please. Click on this, please. Click on this, please. Okay, I see people joining. This means people are joining. Don't do anything yet. I just want you to join. If you're seeing my screen, everybody is starting to join. This allows people to join from different places. I'm going to wait for some time. I see second person joining. Very good. I see a lot of people, I mean, usually people are joining here. This is how I engage my students through online, which is actually, oh, there's a lot of people joining. Very good. So now that people are all joining here slowly, let me wait for a few more seconds because I want to introduce you to this tool, which is so powerful, where you can actually use it to engage children. Okay. Now, those of you at each site, you all have, so I see a lot of people joining. So let me, in interest of time, let me teach you this, tool. It's a free tool by Google. There are several things that you can do. I do have the map of Uganda. So I start by engaging you. I want the person at different sites to go to the left, take a star, pull a star and pull to where you are. Okay. I am not from Uganda, so I'm going to put my star outside. Okay. Go ahead, pull a star. Oh, there. Somebody is from the eastern region. Somebody is from the central region. Great. Keep pulling stars. Okay. More central region. More central region. Wow. Lots of people from central region. Go ahead. And you can ask your crowd sitting in and also move the stars accordingly, but you're already mastering it. Very good. This is real-time interaction from different parts of the world. I am sitting in the United States. Some of you are sitting in northern region of, some of you are sitting in central region, some of you in eastern region, some of you western region. But what I'm doing is step one of data science, data collection. I'm collecting data. I don't want you to draw. No, I don't want you to move. This is a child that is not behaving or listening to my, clearly you will see children like that. All I said is move your star, right? So move your star. That's all you have to do. No drawing. It's a simple grab and move. Okay. So I will teach you the tools. Right now, I'm teaching you the tools for grab and move. So these are all central regions. It takes some time. If you're on a phone, it may not work that, I mean, it'll be a little tricky. If you're on a computer, it's just using, and you can move it to whichever specific location and central region you are in. Why don't you also do that? So I don't know. You could move it to the south of central region, north of central region, wherever you want to move it. Just move the star, grab it in the center and move it to wherever you are. Okay, good. So not only are you teaching real-time engagement, you're also teaching geography. You also have an opportunity to talk about that particular region. So this is also a message to the Ministry of Education, because there are many people that are joining from the central region. There are not a whole, and then the next group of people is northern region. Eastern and western, maybe we can do better. So this is a message for us, for the organizers, to understand maybe there is something that we can do better, or maybe there's not many people on the computer there, or something like that, or maybe they're not just following instructions, right? So we learn a lot from this type of data collection. So I'm going to pause for a second. Now I see people are joining, more people are joining, and you can move. Why don't you also move the stars to the specific region you are from? I want to wait for a second. Go ahead and, no, don't draw stuff. It's just pulling a star. Go ahead, no, again. Okay, I'll pull the star for you, the person that is drawing stuff. So sometimes it's tricky because I want to erase this thing here. This person that was trying to draw this line. So the second button on the left is eraser. So I'm going to erase that line. I'm going to erase this line here. So we will make it pretty. So, okay. So now people are starting to understand what to do. So I see more people joining from the northern region. I know clearly there are a lot of people here. I would suggest you actually put your question on the chat rather than raising your hand. There's probably close to, I don't know how many people are in the audience, given people sitting and all that. I would rather not have a personal conversation now. I would rather have, if you have a question, please put it on the chat so that I can answer. Yes, it is challenging with the phone. That's completely okay. But at least you learn, no, please don't move again, the person that's starting to move stuff, do not move, please. Okay. So I'm going to move this back. So it takes time to know, again, somebody's moving. Please do not move the thing, which is okay. So it takes time to master. Do not touch the map. do not touch the map. All I ask you to do is to touch a star and move the star from outside. So sometimes even instructions is hard to follow, right? So, but you are able to, again, somebody is actually grabbing the map for whatever reason. That's why it's in pink. So you learn a lot about ICT competencies of your own colleagues. Some people don't follow instructions. Some people are not doing exactly what they are asked to do. All I asked you to do was touch us again. Do not move the map. One more time, I'm instructing. Do not move the map, but simply grab a star and move the star. That's what I said. So I hope you are able to follow directions. So now I see that central region and northern region, the organizers have done, or you are able to find. There could be several reasons. Maybe there are more schools in the northern region and central region. Now, this is a message for the ministry to understand how you guys are reaching out to many other, this also tells me who is tech savvy and who is not. Maybe you need to focus more on ICT in these regions where they are struggling to actually put a star. So that's another thing that you need to learn from. Okay, so now that, again, somebody is not listening, somebody is not listening. Okay, so let me help this person. This person wants to bring a star here. And I want to use the second button, which is the erase button, to erase their path here, which kind of is messing up the picture. So I'm going to erase this black line. But so let me now say, now that we understand about Google Jamboard and where you are all from, I want to teach you some things about the tools on the Jamboard. On the left is a pen. The pen can actually write, and this is what the person was doing. So you can write something and say hello and things like that. But I'm going to erase it now. So you can do an eraser. That's the second button. I'm going to erase the button here. So that's the second button. The most common tool I use with my students is the fourth one, which is the sticky note. I'm going to click on the sticky note, and you don't have to do it now. Let me do it. And I can say, hello, Uganda. So I'm going to say, hello, Uganda. And I'm going to actually put it here. So I ask students to actually, you will all do it in just a second. Don't do it now. You'll all do it in just a second. You can use a post-it note. Or I like this seventh tool, which is a text box. I click on the text box and I can actually say, hello, Uganda. Okay, so you can do two different things. You could either use a text box. This is how I communicate with my students. Or I can use a post-it. Or you can actually have activities like I just did, where I engaged you. Okay, so then the next thing I want to ask you now that we have done this activity, let me ask you to look at the top here. These are page numbers. Oh, great. Thank you. Hello, Prof. Great. So somebody has already put some message. That's great. Wonderful. So now we can play this game. By the way, this is called a Google Jamboard. You will have this always open. So you can always come back to moving your stars later on, fill it up. So it'll be a nice picture. You can, Stephen and Ronald can use it for the ministry to see where you guys logged in from and things like that. Okay. Now that you know this, and you know two tools like, no, don't touch the map. Okay. So I don't want you to move pages and see what I'm going to teach you today. There's a lot I have here, but maybe we won't be able to cover some things, but I'll come back to do that. So great. Okay, good. You can always put, so I'm going to give you a chance to type things. Okay. So I want you to look at the top of my screen. This is page numbers. I want you to click on the right arrow next. I want you to click on the right arrow, and you should all come to the screen. What are important competencies and skills needed for problem solving in science, mathematics, and ICT? Okay. So I want you to take either a post-it or a text box. Only a post-it or a text box. So no, don't move my stuff. Okay. All I want you to do is on the fourth button is a post-it. I want you to pick a post-it and say something. For example, type on the chat. Those of you type on the chat and I'll show you. Give me one thing that you think children need, students need, competencies for problem solving. Can you type something on the chat, Stephen, or other groups? Go ahead and type on the chat, please. And I'll show you what I'm asking you to do. Go ahead and type on the chat. So once again, those of you that are on page 1, we are on page, oh, somebody's already moved the map. Come to page 2, please. Come to page 2. Page 2. On the top, click the right button. You will be on page 2. I will give all the slides. Don't worry. I will. Yeah, William, nice to see you again. Yes, I will have all the slides right after this. So once again, those of you that are typing here, I want you to come to page 2. On the top, click the right button. You will be on page 2. I want you to type some competency. Very good. Use of video tutorials. Use of video tutorials. That's a good. No, actually, you're not talking about. Let me ask you about competencies for students. Oh, okay. And teachers. Let me write it. Use of video tutorials. Okay. That is teachers that are competent or students that are competent to use video tutorials. Okay. So I put a post-it there. Creating an environment. You guys are all talking as teachers. I want you to think about students creating an environment. Okay, you guys are talking as teachers. I want you to think like students. What competencies do you think students need? I'm not hearing too much about students. ICT tools, very good. ICT tools. Okay, how to use them. Okay, so ICT tools, I'm going to put it all there. This is a competency that you want students to use. How to use ICT, right? So clearly these are all things that you want. So critical thinking, I like it. Now you guys are talking. Critical thinking, moving the mouse. Interesting, that's a skill, yes. Critical thinking, creativity, I love it. Now these are the exact skills I was looking for. You know, of course, they need to know their science and math, research skills. Fantastic. You guys are doing really good job. Now, I also want to tell you on the top, you see 3 dots here. You can click the 3 dots and you can edit the color. You can put color as pink and you can put a pink color. So I want to change these things to pink and I'll tell you why I'm going to change to one particular color because these are interesting skills. So I'm going to put these as pink colors. And I'm going to put computation on this side. Looks like that's coming out to be a separate category. Moving mouse is like a hands-on skill. So I'm going to put it here. Science tools. Very good. Somebody has put science tools. I'm going to put it as a content here. This is all teaching skills. Collaboration. I like it. So I'm going to put collaboration. Other things. Go ahead. Other things. Innovation. Innovativeness. I like this. This is a students need to be innovative. Teachers need to be innovative. So I put it in this category. Data analysis and interpretation. Fantastic. Use of computer demonstration. I'm going to put it there. Look at how nicely you guys are typing. I hope you're not on page 1. I want to maybe in page 2. Communication. Yes. Communication. Yes, it's not there. I'm going to put it here. Wonderful. Wonderful job. So what I do, oh, I see some more here. Self-directed learning. Somebody has put it on the chat. So I'm going to type that. Self-directed, this person that is moving self-directed learning. And this is good also, learning. And I'm going to put a different color for this. Let's say orange. I'm going to put it orange here. Group discussion. This is very good. Group discussion, I would say, is a teaching idea. So I'm going to put it all, creating an environment. Group discussion. Science tools. So this is something that is important also. So I'm going to put it here. Very good. Inquiry. Inquiry is something, is a teaching tool. Those of you that are, so moving the mouse is a hands-on skill. This is basic life skills they need to know. So I'm going to put it all in orange color. So what I did here, peer presentation, I like this really a lot. So peer presentation is also a very important tool. So what you're seeing here is important tools that you guys are helping me with, and all the teacher tools, I'm going to make it maybe blue. So we can actually do this as, let's say, in blue, and this is also in blue. So, okay, good. Now that you've played this game with me, use of podcast, very good. So podcast is a fantastic way. So I am going to actually, now that I've done this, you see how I actually immediately grouped things, because as a facilitator, hands-on activities. Okay, very good. I see some more in the chat. Hands-on activities, hands-on activities. So hands-on activities. So I would say this is more for teaching. So I'm going to change this to blue color here. So by the way, as I'm teaching, I want you to use these tools in your classroom, okay? Decision-making skills. You guys are wonderful when it comes to what you think the student should need. I don't know if the students are typing this, but that's great if the students are typing. Okay, this is great. Hands-on activities, investigative. I like that. That's like research. So I'm going to add this also, investigative as the last one. Investigative. Thank you. Thank you for playing along. Investigative skills. Okay, good. So I'm going to put investigative, and I'm going to put it close here. I'm going to put ICT tools here on this side. So clearly, you are seeing from the teacher's perspective. So now what else you can do with Google Jamboard? Well, I'm going to first of all erase this person's line, little line. Now, again, I'm going to erase this line because you're causing things on the screen. Can the person that did the analytical skills change your color to, do you know how to change your color to, you can change it. So analytical skills, this person, you could go to the 3 dots, you could say edit, and you could actually make it this thing. Okay, so I can't spend more time on this thing. We have lots of things to learn. So please play with me as I ask you to do. So the next one tool I like to do as an organizer, I go to this tool here in the bottom. It's a I grab this tool. Let me grab a square, and I can actually grab this whole thing as a square. And then in the 3 dots, I'll say order, and I'll go to send to back. So what I'm doing is now organizing this. These to me are teaching, and I can actually Control-C, Control-V, which means I can have the same exact tool here. And I can actually build this like this. Watch what I'm doing, when I give a report to the ministry of what just happened, I can actually give them this picture of what just happened. So send to the back. So these skills are different types of skills. These are lifelong learning skills. And let me do another box here. And you could do a circle if you want. You could do, there is a lot of other tools. So I'm going to grab these things here, and I'm going to say send to the back. Order is sent to the back. And you can see that I'm already organizing my information. This is as a coordinator, I need to be able to do this. But what I wanted to teach you here is how immediately we are able to organize our own information in Uganda to say, this is your feedback. So I can now arrange this here. So now you see how nicely it looks. And you gave me information on somebody is saying technology. Let me write that also. So I can also duplicate tools, and somebody said technology. So I'm going to say technology on the chat so that I respect what you said. So I can have this. So now you've learned another tool today. It's called Google Jamboard. Did you all like it? If you can say yes, please go ahead and say on the chat. If you've not used it, I strongly, strongly encourage you to use this. Okay. So good. Now I'm going to go back to the presentation. So you can just listen to what I'm going to say and all that stuff. So I'm going to share my slide again. So this is Google Jamboard. So what we just learned is that the central category was all what we call as 21st century skills. So you know all those pink things. So for example, it is as simple as I can go here and I can actually use a snip tool. If you type SNIP, and you can snip the whole image. I can snip the whole image right here. And I can take this image, copy. I can do real time into my presentation. I can actually do a new slide. And I can actually insert this so that you can see the picture. So as a teacher, you can actually, you already imported it into your presentation. Okay. So now I can show, you can see that the most important, okay, I need to change this color, which is okay, analytical skills. Let me go, I'm a little picky with, presentation. So let me just do pink here. And then let me do the snip again. So SNIP is to grab a screen share, or, you can use something like that. I'm going to copy this again. I'm going to go into the thing here and I presented it. So now notice that the central category is all lifelong learning skills. And what is that? Well, it's about, understanding about 21st century skills. This is a very important thing that you all should understand is, the key things that you're seeing here is the 21st century skills. What are the 21st century skills? Well, it's about being globally aware. It's about financial, economic, business, entrepreneurial literacy. It's about health literacy. I didn't see any of you write those things. It's about environmental literacy. That's, key ideas that you need. I did see many of you write critical thinking, communication, collaboration, creativity. Those are the 4 C's, which is very good that you wrote that. And then the important thing about learning environments. I saw some of you write about learning environments. So the learning and innovation skills, as they call it, is the 4 C's. It's the critical thinking, communication. You all talked about it, many of you. But then you also talked about information, media, and technology skills, which is about information literacy, media literacy, ICT literacy, information, communication, and technology literacy. But you also need life and career skills. It's interesting that when I do this exercise with you, none of you said about failure. None of you said about grit. None of you said about perseverance. None of you said about, enjoying the learning. So it is very important. I can already see how Uganda, it's just like in India. When I used to grow up, you are a failure or you're not a failure. That attitude was given to students. And when you give that attitude to students that you are a failure in a bad way, then they don't learn very well because they are not excited about learning. But if you say failure is good, let's learn from the failure, that's a different message. Unfortunately, none of you talked about grit. None of you talked about perseverance. None of you talked about failure. So clearly, Uganda needs to do a better job at life and career skills. What is that? Flexibility, adaptability, initiative, self-direction. I did see one of you say self-learning, social skills, cross-cultural skills, accountability, so leadership skills. So interestingly, none of you wrote all those things. So this tells me something about Uganda. I knew about Uganda when I came, but now I'm seeing you, many of you are in a box of this is what I teach. This is what I want my students to know. You got to come out of the box. Start being comfortable coming out of the box, okay? Then you have in the center, you have the 21st century themes that you need to be aware of, right? So it's about the reading, writing, and the literacy is very, very important. And then you got at the bottom standards and assessments, curriculum and instruction, professional development for teachers, and then learning environments. How you actually have. I will come back to this slide in another presentation later on another time, okay? Today, the focus is about 2 frameworks. I know I'm not doing good on time, but I'll try my best. Okay, continuing on. One of the other important frameworks that is very, very important is, it's not an app. Somebody's asking, is this an app? No, it's not an app. It's free. Okay, let me actually, since somebody is asking that, let me tell you how to open a Jamboard. I should probably have told you this. If you want to open a Jamboard, go to Google. There are 3 ways to open a Jamboard. You just say jamboard.google.com. You open Jamboard. This is all my Jamboards. Don't worry about it. I have too many Jamboards. This is all my presentations from over several years. So you just say jamboard.google.com. I'm going to put it on the bottom here. You don't have to do it now because we're going to spend unnecessary time. Just watch what I'm doing. And then there is a little plus sign. When you click on the plus, it will automatically open a new Jamboard for you. There are about 20 slides for the Jamboard that you can use as a teacher, and then you can actually engage students on different things, okay? Another way to start a Jamboard is basically you can go to the Drive, you can go to Google Drive, and you could say New, and then in the bottom, you can say More, and you will see Jamboard as one of the options right there. The third way to doing it is, if you go to these buttons on the top right here, you will see Google Jamboard. That will be one of the options here. So there are multiple ways to do Google Jamboard. Since somebody asked, I just presented how to do it and all that. Back to the presentation now. Now, another important framework that people need to know before doing project-based learning is, where are the projects coming from? What should I be doing? What should mathematics address? What should science address? What should technology address? Well, maybe a bigger context, and the bigger context that you all know is SDG. So the question to the Ministry of Education is, how well do you connect the 17 goals and the 169 targets to mathematics in 9th stat grade or science in 6th grade? How well does Uganda do in terms of connecting a bigger context like the SDG, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, to 3rd grade mathematics? Are you doing it? If you want to learn how to do it, I'm happy to teach you some other time, but it's very important. So that's where it starts. Context. First, you start with the context. To give you a perspective on how Uganda is doing on SDGs, you know, SDGs is 2030 goals. Uganda, so if you look at the bottom of this dashboard, if you see an up arrow with a green, that means you guys are doing on track. If you see an arrow on the right side with orange, that means you're moderately improving. If you see to the right an arrow, you're stagnating. If you see a bottom arrow with red, which means you're decreasing. Unfortunately, Uganda is only doing it well on one SDG, number 12. And you are doing okay on climate change, climate action. On quality education, nobody knows. Look at the 2 dots here. They don't know. Information is unavailable. This is from United Nations, okay? SDG index. The ones on the right arrow, that means you're not doing great in poverty. This is a big challenge. And then the top right arrow means you're moderately improving. Life on land is decreasing. So this is a very interesting way to present data. So you want to understand how to present data. So just to let you know, this is where Uganda stands. This is personal indicators of Uganda. You are ranked 141 out of 166 countries. That's also not great. So these are things that needs to hit the minister's office, the prime minister's, the president's office, to understand where the country stands in terms of SDGs, because this will help inform policy decisions. Policy decisions that will impact curriculum, curriculum that will impact textbooks, textbooks that will impact students' learning. So it's very important, and instruction and all that stuff. If you're not doing that and just giving workshops, then it's no use. You know, you can do a one-shot workshop. What's the point? I can assemble 1,000 people. You really have to build it from scratch. You got to see what is happening outside. I don't know how many of you have seen this dashboard for Uganda. Now that you've seen it, now you know which ones to improve on, if the ministry people are listening to me. So let's do one more brainstorming session. And Stephen, how am I doing on time? I want to pause, and now you can type on the chat. That's completely okay. How am I doing on time? Because I want to make sure I don't. I can always save some things for the next time. Okay, I don't hear. I'm going to assume that I have 35 minutes. Thank you. So let me teach you one important. I mean, I'm going to go from mathematics to science to ICT and all that, but unfortunately, I can't do everything today. But I'm going to give you homework. Okay, this homework is for students. Okay, so this is an important idea. Now, what you're seeing on the right side is, of course, air conditions in Uganda. Now, suppose I ask you a simple question like, about how many air-conditioned repairmen are in Uganda? If I ask you that question, you're like, okay, what is he asking? This is not a test question. This is not in the textbook. This is not in this thing. But let's see if you can critically think. What's the one information that you would need to find this answer? I'm going to give you one fact, only one fact. And the fact is the population of Uganda. Can someone type on the chat what you think is the population of Uganda? On the chat, what you think is the population of Uganda? 46 million. That used to be a few years ago, Joseph. Above 46. Very good. I like the way you said above 46. It is actually 50,000 and 397. So it's actually crossed 50,000. Okay. So 50 million. Okay. It's already crossed 50 million as of today. 50 million. You can go and check on Google and find the statistics and all that. So I'm going to give you a simple information that population is about 50 million. There's a reason why I'm using a nice round number to do the mathematics well. Now, let's give guesses. So let's see which district in Uganda gives me the good guess. Go ahead and give a guess for the number of air conditioners. Let me give you an example of what does an air condition repairman do. They go to somebody's house, repairs the air conditioner and comes back. And then they go to somebody's house or school and repairs and comes back. So you know the traffic in Uganda. You know how much time it takes to go repair. Now give me a critical thinking answer on how many air condition repairmen are in Uganda. Go ahead. Let me see on the chat how many answers come. Go ahead, take a rough guess. You can type on the chat, please. You don't have to ask me a question and all that. Type on the chat. How many air condition repairmen do you think? 500. Okay, 500 for 50 million people. Okay, good. Keep typing. 500 is a good guess. Bemba has guessed. Okay, keep going. 1,000. Okay, good. 1,000 is a good guess. I want to see who comes the closest. Go ahead. Take a guess. 1,000 people. Less than 1,000. 10,000. Okay, you see the differences in answer. 260. 200. About 2,000. Omar. Okay, 1,500. 120. Interesting. Unknown. Okay, very good. 3,500, 1,800. Very good. So you guys are giving me lots of guesses. So what you're seeing is I'm making you engage and you're giving me so many different answers. Now, listen to me very carefully how I am going to solve this problem. And just because I am solving the problem one way doesn't mean that that's the only way to solve this problem. Okay. I like somebody is like diplomatic and saying insufficient training because of a few. Very good, very good. Keep to that, Gulu Secondary. So, but I'm going to tell you how I'm going to solve this problem in a very simple way. Okay, doesn't need very hardcore mathematics. Very simple mathematics. I see a lot of guesses. Very good. So let's suppose, and listen to me very carefully how I'm solving this problem. How many air condition repairmen are in Uganda, right? Now, I want you to look at how I'm going to solve this problem. So 50,000 for 50 million people. You obviously have different reasons. So I have my reason to solve this problem. And please listen to me as I speak here. Here's my solution approach. And it's not necessarily the exact one, but I'm going to try it. Let's suppose that a family in Uganda has 4 people. Mom, dad, 2 children. So 4 people, okay? That means how many families are in Uganda? Well, that should be simple. You just take 50 million and divide by 4. That gives me 12,500,000 families. Number 1, step number 1. Now, I'm going to make an assumption. Not everybody in Uganda can have an air conditioner. So I am going to assume that every 5th house, 20% of the people have an air conditioner. Okay, great. That means I take 20% of this and that gives me the number of air conditioners. Look at how I am problem solving. Okay. So there's 2,500,000, maybe 20, exactly your chance. So I want you to keep it to that. Okay. I'm going to come back to that. I am showing you my solution. Okay. We'll come to your ideas. Okay. Don't type anything yet until I say so. So my solution was I started with the population. I made an assumption that there are 4 people in a family. I divided by 4. That's 12,500,000 families. Then I said every 5th house has a piano, has a air condition. And clearly somebody already said, what if I'm sitting in a building with 20 air conditioners? That's possible, but I didn't make that assumption. I made my assumption. So that's 2,500,000 air conditioners. Now, let's talk about a air-conditioned repairman. I start to drive in the morning. I go to one end of Kampala. I finish one job. And then suddenly I get a call. They call me to another end of Kampala. So I go to another. You guys know how bad the traffic is in Uganda. And so you go to other end of Kampala. You come back. It's lunchtime. Now, suddenly I get another call. And it's another district that is calling me. So I'm going to go repair the piano there. I come back. Suddenly I get my boss calls and say, hey, go and repair the piano there. I mean, repair the air condition there. And I go to that air condition. So I am going to make an assumption that I can only do 4 jobs one day. So now I'm going to ask you, how many jobs can I do in a week? On the chat, please. 4 jobs in a day. How many jobs in a week? On the chat. So it's clear that you're all like, Bemba is the only person that said 20. Everybody else is saying 28. Bemba is very smart. Okay, I'll tell you why. Because, and Itel is also saying, so some of you are saying 24. Because I only like to work for 5 days, Monday through Friday. I want to take a break on Saturday and Sunday. So 2 days I take a break. I don't work on the weekends. So I make an assumption that I only work on 5 days, each day 4 jobs. So that's 20 jobs a week. You see, you have to make assumptions so that your numbers are very nice. That's another thing. 28, 24 is not that great because you guys are multiplying, 4 jobs times 6, working on Saturdays, 4 jobs times 7. But you also need to understand how I was speaking to my technique also. So it's very, very important to understand how to actually talk, articulate, right? So I said 4 jobs a day. I work for 5 days because 4 times 5 is very easy. That's 20 jobs a week. Now, how many weeks are in a year? So how many weeks are in a year? And what's a good number to use for that, for my calculation? 54. In which world are you in, Kakira? So I don't know any world that has 54 weeks. Okay, 52 weeks. Good. So I have the week calculation, which is 1,000, which is, we said 20 jobs a week. So how many jobs in a year? Can someone tell me how many jobs in a year? So you're all going to be calculating 52 times 20. Don't do that. Make an approximation. So make an approximation of 52. What would be a good number for 52? Very good, Robert. Robert immediately did it correctly. He said, 52 is about 50. So 50 times 20. So what I want you to understand is to have this problem solved and not using paper and pencil, but simply using your critical mind, critical thinking. So 1,000 is good because it's 20 jobs a week times 50 weeks. Why? You can make up a reason. I want to take 2-week vacation. So it's not 52 weeks. Notice how I'm making my assumptions to convince the students of how I'm going to use that 2 weeks out of this. So that's, as you said, it's 1,000 air conditions repaired. Now we are ready for the grand answer. The total number of air condition repairmen will be 2,500,000 divided by 1,000, 2,500. So some of you actually were very close to the answer, 2,500 repairmen. Now, you can now argue that my assumption was wrong. There are buildings with maybe 20 air conditioners. Like if you go to the ministry building, maybe there's more than one air conditioner. If you go to maybe some village, there is no air conditioner at all. So you have to assume, you have to think about all these different things. What I demonstrated just now is a very famous problem-solving technique called the Fermi rule or the Fermi problem. So if you Google Fermi, you will see these types of challenges that you can give students in your secondary or primary or middle school. Now, who was Fermi? Enrico Fermi was a Nobel Prize winner 1938 for radiation physics. Okay, and he actually won the Nobel Prize for physics. Very brilliant guy, but he was also very good at teaching. what he will do is he will go into the classroom and ask students a question, but he will not tell them what he's about to teach. It's about inquiry-based idea. So what he will end up, so here are lots and lots of problems. How many piano tuners are in Chicago? How many people are using cell phones right now in Uganda? How many passenger cars are driving right now in Kampala? So he would ask these questions that are very high level, but you have to make the right assumptions to solve the problem. And here is an example. How many popcorns can fill a room like this? Now, he is obviously going into the classroom wanting to teach some important idea, but he is not going to give away what he's going to teach. This is called discovery teaching, okay? And for students, it's discovery learning. It's an idea of, it's not a completely project-based. If it's project-based, you're going to fill it up with popcorn. That's not the way to doing this. This is not how you do it. Fill the room with popcorn and then count the number of popcorns. That's a pretty bad way to doing this problem, right? So how do you do this problem? Well, you would say that a one popcorn would be in a ½ inch by ½ inch by ½ inch. Okay, great. So how about taking that to a 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch? Now, if you think about a 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch box, you can divide that into 8 little boxes, which are ½ inch by ½ inch by ½ inch. So inside each of those ½ inch by ½ inch by ½ inch, there's one popcorn. So in a 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch, it'll be 8 popcorns. Now, from I know Uganda probably does things in meters. In the US, we do everything in feet. So if it is feet, how many inches are in a feet? Can you tell me how many inches are in a feet on the chat, please? How many inches? 12. So Robert, what would be a good approximation? Like if you were thinking like Fermi, what would be a good approximation for 12? 10, very good. So I'm going to make the leap of faith and say 1 foot is about 10 inches. So if it is 10 by 10 by 10, I have 8,000 popcorn kernels. Now its problem is almost solved. I actually have in a 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, 8,000 popcorn kernels. Now I can give a measuring tape to my students and the students can start to measure and find the length, width, and height. So essentially, they know the measure for 1 foot by 1 foot. All they need to know is how many boxes go across the length, how many go across the width, and how many go across the height. What do you think is Fermi trying to teach here? What concept is he trying to teach here? What formula is he trying to teach here? Anyone on the chat? Exactly. He's teaching volume. Volume equals to length times width times height. When you throw a formula to a student like that, sometimes it makes no sense. Absolute nonsense. But when you build it up like this, the students are excited. They're learning and they're saying, oh, now I know the measure for 1 foot. Let me measure the tape. And this can be used in agriculture. This can be used in everything. This can be used for area. So you're exciting the student and also helping them understand why we are teaching a certain formula, because many students keep asking, why am I learning this? What's the point? And things like that. So it turns out that I'm going to give you some homework. And the homework is the following. You don't have to do it now. It's a homework. That means I want students or the participants to do this. I want you to solve 2 challenges. One challenge would be this. How many hospital beds are available? This is a challenge I gave to my students for COVID-19 in Uganda. This is one of the challenges. I would love for you to actually do this problem with 5 steps at least 5 steps. You got to think about Uganda, central region, northern region, how many hospitals, how many regions, how many, this thing. You could think of this, go back to 2020 and think about when COVID happened. Apply for me to tell me how many hospital beds. This, believe it or not, I did this calculation for just for fun, and the government did a calculation using very hard methods. My answer using Fermi was very close to their answer using hardcore research. So sometimes simplistic methods will help. How many books do you need for Uganda? How many curriculum developers do you need for the ministry? So all these different types of things are usually solved using back of the envelope calculation. Okay, so challenge for you all. Work with Stephen and Ronald to use 5 steps. I also have some Jamboard things, but I would ask you to do 5 steps, write it on a piece of paper and say, you know, there are 4 regions or 5 regions. In this region, this many people, blah, blah, blah. You can use at least 5 steps and come up with a number of hospital beds. Forget about COVID. Maybe there's another disease. You can make up your disease, work with your teacher and try to figure out how many beds are needed in Uganda. Another problem that I would like you to think about is clean water sanitation. I have a Jamboard for this, but I don't want you to do that. So, but what you learned today is computational thinking. This will be a lecture in another future session. Computational thinking consists of 4 important things. First thing is, how do you decompose a problem? Fermi teaches you that. How do you abstract? Once you decompose, how do you abstract it backwards? How do you recognize patterns? Children learn by patterns, like 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 2 times 3. You know, counting by 2s, counting by 5s, that's how they learn. And then how do you make it very systematic, algorithms? So I will talk about this. My another lecture later on will be completely on computational thinking, which will help build this thing. So I want to present 2 frameworks and then I'll stop. The first framework that I want to present is called 5 E's. First E is, how do you engage students? For me, you just saw how I engaged you with Google Jamboard. Second E is, how do you explore? So they have to gather information, like what's the population of this thing and what is this? That's data gathering. Third important thing is, how do you make them explain what they found? Somebody said, oh, there are 20 air conditions in blah, blah, blah. So they have to be able to explain. The fourth important thing, even after I get the answer, I was able to explain the Fermi problem. I was able to explain the steps. Now, but then somebody says, but doesn't make sense. This district has no air condition, but this district has a lot of air condition. So there was something. So then I elaborate my solution. And then finally, the best part, you evaluate. But it's not about ministry evaluating teachers or teachers evaluating students. It's students evaluating students. That's where the power is. Okay, so this is about teaching each other evaluation. It's called peer evaluation. So these are 5 very important steps. First E, engage, posing questions. Second E, explore. Third E is explain, elaborate, and evaluate. So in engagement, you will already think of a task and you will engage the students in a new concept through these activities. Today I did Jamboard, today I did Fermi for you. And I already knew some of your prior knowledge. None of you talked about all these grit and perseverance. So I know your background knowledge. And then you ask them to explore, go get data, try to understand what data is needed for the problem. Then you ask them to explain what they are thinking. And then they have to elaborate on their solution idea. And then they have to evaluate. These are 5 very important E's. Now, think of it from a student perspective, like what is the experience that the student is going through? It has to be consistent. That means the central region is implementing a math problem. The same type of experience students should have in the northern region. Same on the west and same on. So it needs to be relevant. Now, if the central region is focusing on agriculture, northern region is focusing on traffic, then focus it on the relevancy of the situation, the context. Then the third thing is be flexible. Not all kids remember formulas. Some kids like to do it by hand. Some kids like to do it. So you have to think about their learning styles and make it accessible, easy to hard. So make the levels of difficulty based on if a student is very good, then give them something challenging. So I'm going to show you some technology simulation. I'm going to skip this for a second. And so the PBL, also referred to as the project-based learning framework. This was actually developed a long time back in terms of understanding what PBL is. And so there were several things that are important here. Typically, they divided this into 2 parts. One is the significant content. And then they wanted to focus on 21st century skills. So they wanted to make sure that the content is there and then the 21st century skills. So the way PBL in 2010, back in 2010, when they, September 2010, so they created this idea that every child should think of a question and whatever that question is. But then they need to ask relevant things related to the question. So what do I need to know? What data should I collect? What lab should I have if it's a science thing? And then they need to have voice and choice. You should not tell them in the curriculum, say, do it this way, structure. Don't give them a structure. And that's where project-based learning becomes very interesting. It's the student voice and choice rather than the teacher telling them what to do. When the teacher tells them what to do, it becomes another PBL called problem-based learning. This is project-based learning. So basically, the students have the voice and choice. And then once they go through this type of a Fermi or something, allow them to revise their answer, allow them to reflect on their thinking. It's very, very important. And then once you think they have a good idea, then make them present to a public audience. And this is kind of what PBL was initially in 2010 created as. But later, and then of course you want to sustain, continue this inquiry. So deeper inquiry. Maybe you tried to solve a problem of agriculture, and then you said, what do you need? Like helping the farmers and things like that. And you can think about maize in Uganda. How much maize is lost? Because of the weather, because of how it's transported and things like that. So you can think about all the data. And then you can actually come up with a technique to stop that. There's lots of things. Water crisis. There's lots of ways to actually, bananas. One of the biggest banana producing countries, you know how much banana is wasted in Uganda? So how do you stop that wastage? There's several companies already thinking about banana wastage, right? So those are all real problems. Now PBL has changed the game. So what they have done is, instead of in-depth inquiry, instead of going deep into the inquiry, they have gone to sustained inquiry. That means continuous inquiry. Instead of a driving question, which they have made it a challenging problem. So they don't want you to do a textbook problem. Like I saw, it's good. Like, you're giving like, Kampala has like 24 schools, and or let me give you another thing. So let's say a school in Kampala has a classroom where 24 kids are doing mathematics, 35 kids are doing science, and 14 kids are doing ICT, and then 13 kids are doing ICT and mathematics, and 12 kids are doing mathematics and science, and 15 kids are doing science and this thing. And then I can say 10 kids are doing all three. If I give you that information and ask you how many kids are not doing ICT or mathematics or science, then you are like, oh, how do I do this? Let me draw a triple Venn diagram, because there was a nice video by one of the girls I saw where she's using a triple Venn diagram. So there are techniques. So it's one thing to think about techniques, but one thing to think about, give a challenging question, right, out of the textbook. So maybe make it like, 10 districts in Uganda, like, or this many districts don't have water. This many districts have, don't have, something. Or so you have to build it, which is more authentic. So they build the whole authenticity into the problem solving, not just textbook problems, something much more authentic to Uganda. And then they change the whole, need to know to something that is more authentic. And then the voice and choice, they really liked it, so they kept it as the same. This is student voice and choice. They broke the revision and reflection into two parts because they thought that was the most important thing. So it's a critique and revision. That means, so critique is like elaborate in the engage piece and revise it. And reflect is the student reflects. That's very important. And finally, the public audience was changed to public product. Okay, so that's something that is very important. So PBL is now, this right side picture is the gold standard for project-based learning. Is your problem authentic? Is this a challenging problem or question? Can it create sustained inquiry? Are we using student voice and choice? Are you going to allow them to reflect? Are you critiquing, or will you allow other students to critique other students? Have them revise their model. And finally, will they demonstrate their public product? This is PBL, okay? So how do you apply to a real problem? Like, for example, you start with a context. Let's say clean water sanitation. And then if you break down goal number 6 of SDG, it actually becomes many targets. As you know, there are 17 goals and 169 targets. Okay, so now you have targets like better quality water, safe drinking water, sanitation for all, integrated water management. Now you ask the students to pick one of the targets, and you can give them some data on water all across. And here is what happened before COVID, and here is what happened after COVID. So you give them enough information so that they can pick an authentic problem. So here it's, let's say the authentic problem that they want to do is purifying water. So then as a teacher, don't just give away everything, but make an assessment. So for example, I'll give you a picture. What is this way of purifying water? Can somebody put on the chat? This is a pre-assessment. This is to gauge your knowledge. So how do you purify water? Suppose we agree on purifying water. What is this way of, yes, very good, Mayo. Boiling is correct. How about, I guess it's showing you all of them. Okay, so these are all different ways. So you could actually show pictures. That's sand filtration. This one here is paper filtration. This is bank filtration. This is what is called as osmosis, actually membrane filtration. This is where you put a membrane here. And then you can put iodine and chlorine cleaning. You could do distillation. You could do iodine. You could do solar filtration. You could do clay vessel filtration. You could do UV radiation. You could do desalination. And then you could do reverse osmosis. So you present techniques of all the different things that is going on. So this is authentic problem. There's all these different ideas that are there for solving water purification. I just took an example of water purification. Now, how do I bring it into the curriculum? Well, you want to ask, maybe we focus on reverse osmosis. What is reverse osmosis? Reverse osmosis is the idea that you have fresh water on one side and salt water on the other side, and you put pressure here so that all the, fresh water, all the water molecules from salt water will move to the other side. That's reverse osmosis. That means you are making the osmosis direction opposite. And then you ask, wait a minute, what does that mean? Making it opposite. That means, what is osmosis? That's the natural, that's the inquiry question that the student is asking. Okay, well, let me teach you osmosis. Let me put an egg in vinegar. Vinegar is acid. Can someone tell me what happens when you put egg in vinegar? Just type on the chat. What do you think happens when you put egg in vinegar? Well, what happens is that the egg does not have enough water. There's lots of water outside. What happens is the water molecules will move from outside to inside the egg. But the egg has a shell. So it will break the shell and it will go inside. So what happens is it will go inside and the egg becomes very big. In fact, this process is called osmosis. When water moves from high concentration to low concentration, it's called osmosis. But I'm using an experiment to actually teach the students using a simple egg. So water molecules move, break the eggshell and go inside. Okay. And what you get is a bouncing egg, something that you can try. Now, what happens when you put, for example, here, you can also bring chemistry. So you can actually think about, a chemical reaction that happens in this whole situation because the shell is calcium carbonate. This is time to bring chemistry, integration. Now, calcium carbonate, which is CaCO3, is coming in contact with acetic acid. Acid is the vinegar. Now you can teach them that it becomes water, carbon dioxide, and another type of acid. And so essentially, you can teach some chemistry, you can teach some mathematics by balancing the reaction. You can also talk about pH value, which is like neutral value versus strong acid, what is strong base, and then have them do an experiment with pH at their house. So for example, water is normal neutral pH. Battery is really acidic. Lemon is acidic. Tomato is acidic. Water, I mean, milk is okay. Bleach is bad. Like, base, for example, you can think about, ask them to coffee. We all drink coffee. I drink a lot of coffee, but I'm actually increasing my acidity in my body. Now you can talk about biology. You can talk about pH calculations. And so you can ask them to go and check in their house which were different things and different pH and all that stuff. Notice how I'm integrating into the PBL. And then you could say, okay, I have the bouncy egg. What if I add cornstarch? Now, cornstarch has a lot of sugar. It does not have a lot of water. But the bouncy egg that you made has a lot of water. So the water will try to come out of the egg now. When it does that, it becomes what is called as a shriveled egg. So it's a very simple activity to teach about osmosis. Very sophisticated concept, right? So essentially, you got the sugar molecules, you got some water, and you go there. Now you go say that's basically your shriveled egg, that's your bouncy egg, that's the old original egg. Now that they learn about important process of osmosis, now you teach them what is reverse osmosis. You don't just teach them reverse osmosis, where osmosis is high concentration to low concentration. What if I reverse it from salt water? So you have ocean water. What if I put pressure and release all the water to move on the other side? Because in salt water, water concentration is less. And I'm making the water move from less to high concentration. That's called reverse osmosis. Now, that's how you can produce water from the ocean, drinking water from the ocean. Now you're solving a real challenge. Now, not only are you solving a real challenge, those of you know people that have dialysis, they have to change their liquids in their kidneys to keep their kidneys clean. That is using osmosis. You can give them real examples of osmosis because you have high concentration of water and it goes through a membrane. That's really what happens when you're doing this thing. So try to bring some real examples. Another powerful example is ocean acidification. 1/3 of the environment that goes into the surface of the water that goes inside, it actually goes and goes in as carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide will go, and there are little creatures which have shells. This is exactly why I use the egg as an example, because egg has a shell. And when carbon dioxide comes, it mixes with the water and it forms acidic. It becomes acidic. When it becomes acidic, it goes to the shell of these animals and it breaks the shell. Once it breaks the shell, you get these animals are dead. If the animals are dead, the fish will eat it. Guess who is eating that fish? Guess who is eating Nile tilapia? The same tilapia that ate these creatures. You. So now you know, people from Nile, the land of Nile, now you know what damage to the environment can come back to you in terms of health. I hope you understood the power of what I'm actually teaching you today. This is project-based learning, helping you to understand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save some of the things for later. Because of time, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to, can I take 5 minutes to do CodeApp? Is that okay? 5 minutes, Stephen, and then finish?
Yes, Professor, it is very fine. Okay.
Finally, I want to engage you in one of the coolest tools ever made. And I showed it to both Stephen and Ronald, and they were really amazed. So this is a homework that they will give you. It's called CodeApp. You don't have to do it with me. I'm going to show it today. So it's called CodeApp. CodeApp stands for Common Online Data Analysis Platform. And they are going to give you, Stephen and Ronald will give you a really nice homework with a survey, where you will use to collect data. Now I'm going to teach you something very simple. There's a button called Launch CodeApp. I can click on this, or I can actually click on Try CodeApp. I'm going to do Try CodeApp. Now, there are two options here. I can either open document and browse examples that are already there, or I can create a new document. I'm going to browse examples. So I'm going to click on browse examples. And there's a lot of examples. Let me click on mammals. And I'm going to open mammals. And immediately a data set comes in mammals. I'm going to click on this. Here is teachers can give some notes and all that, saying this is the data set for 27 mammals. Check out the table. Look at the column. So here is the inquiry based, create a graph for what they represent. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to tell you that what you have is a data set of 27 animals. The African elephant, I can move this. The African elephant, Asian elephant, brown bat, cheetah, chimpanzee, donkey, giraffe, wolf, seal. There's about 27 animals here. They're, you know, where they appear in their order in terms of families. How long do they live? What's their height? What's their mass? What's their sleep? How long do they sleep? How fast they run? What's their habitat? Are they on land? Are they on water? What is their diet? Do they eat plants or meat and things like that? So Stephen and Ronald will engage you in a data collection just like this for something else in education. Now imagine you have a data table and you can get the table into CodeApp. Watch the magic just now. So as a teacher, you have something called text box. You can click on the text box and ask students like, this is the data of 27 mammals. Here is, find some relations between attributes. Now, attribute is these different columns, attributes. So I can actually give instructions to the students without giving away too much information. So, attributes are all these columns. Now, let me ask Stephen, what would you like to know? Stephen, what would you like to know about this mammals data set? Give me something.
Okay. We can check on the speed.
What did you like to know? You want to know, you have to have a hypothesis. So this is where I can say it to the students, make a hypothesis. This is science now. And check if it is true. Give me a hypothesis.
That the heights, let's look at the mass and the speed.
So you are saying, what is your hypothesis? You're saying big animals run slow. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So if the animal has more mass, so here's my hypothesis. So my hypothesis is if the animal has more mass, then it runs what? Slow or fast? What do you think?
Then it runs slowly.
Its speed is slow. Okay, so now Stephen has made a hypothesis here. We need to check that. Well, one way to check is to draw a graph. And so what I'm going to do is, you see the graph button on the top left? I'm going to click on graph and immediately a magic graph appears. And by the way, these are all the animals. So for example, if I click on something here, you can see how dynamic it is. It goes to that blue dot there is the spotted hyena. It's a carnivore. It's 25, blah, blah. So I can click somewhere outside here just to, okay. So now I'm going to draw a graph. So he wants to know if the mass, the heavier the animal is. So I'm going to put the mass. Look at what I did. I just go grab it and put it on the x-axis. So I have all the mass here. Let me check what that animal is. That's the African elephant. Is the heaviest one, 6,400 kilograms. What's the, lightest one? For example, cheetah. Cheetah is very light. Only 50 kilograms. So now I see how the animals are distributed in terms of mass. So now what I can do is I can bring the height also to the, he asked sleep, right? So let's pull the sleep to the y-axis and leave it here. Immediately you get a distribution of all the animals. So let's check the hypothesis of Stephen. He said, if the animal has more mass, so this one is the African elephant, which sleeps 2 hours.
Professor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
speed. Sorry. Oh, sleep. You wanted speed. Thank you. So let's do the following. Let me do this again. I just noticed speed. Okay. Let's do this one more time. Thank you. Stephen, is that what you were going to tell me?
Yes, Professor.
So let's do the mass here on the x-axis and the speed, sorry, not sleep, speed on the y-axis. So he's guessing that the animal that has more mass has the low speed. Is that true? Look at this one. This is the African elephant. That runs at 40 kilometers per hour. Look at this one. That's the armadillo. Armadillo is low mass, but low speed. So I cannot conclude from my hypothesis. So, yeah, so that's right. Sleep instead. That's right. So we could do that also. So you could check this and see if the hypothesis is true. Let's try the other one. Do heavy mammals sleep longer? So let's try another graph. And I'm going to put heavy mammals. Do they sleep the longest? I can put the sleep here. And then I can see if they sleep the longest. Well, I can see an African elephant sleeps only 2 hours. That's not true either. But a lion sleeps for 20 hours. You guys probably know that better, but that's what it's saying. So this is the data. But you guys can collect similar data for this thing. Now, a harder challenge for you, and I will stop. Harder challenge for you is this map. Now, if I put the map, usually I have the map of the, map of the world here. Now, the thing is, you could actually pull some information and actually, like, for example, I could take mammals and put it here, but there's nothing happening here. But I guess for this data, it doesn't work. But the beauty of this is I would probably just ask you to use the text box for now and the data, and Stephen and Ronald will tell you what data you guys are going to collect through using a Google form, which will help the ministry, because you also learn about CODAP this way. Students will really engage in this. And I want to see, you guys use this so that you guys can help the ministry as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my presentation, and I'm going to finish with this slide, which is, we all tend to be teaching our students very content-driven skills, discipline skills, math, biology, chemistry, science, technology, and all that, which is good. But we also need to be teaching transferable skills, from traditional skills to transferable skills. This is collecting data, understanding problem solving, metacognitive skills, literacy, 21st century skills, and all that. And I want to finish with this. This is something. So what I will suggest is, if you, I will be putting this picture on LinkedIn. I would love if you can follow me on LinkedIn so that you can also like the picture. And once I put the picture later on today, so people know that, there's people from Uganda liking the picture and things like that. I'm also on Twitter. You're welcome to follow me on Twitter also. And I will stop here, Stephen. So thank you, Stephen and Ronald, for inviting me.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor. At this point, Professor, allow me that we invite in some few questions from the participants, since it is already time. But can we have some few questions in case
maybe a few questions, and they can send me email also, yeah, that's fine. Yes, they can ask me questions. Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, so in case you have any question concerning the project-based learning and from what the professor has shared with us, kindly raise up your hand.
And Stephen, may I suggest that you start a Google Doc on today's presentation, and say today's presentation was PBL and this thing, and they can type you can share the Google Doc later on, and they can type their questions later on, not now. And then I can go and respond to the questions and all that. Does that make sense?
Okay, it makes more sense.
So you can make a simple Google Doc, share it with the different schools that are there, and then they can actually add questions, and all of us can answer and today, if there is 1 or 2 questions, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do we have some people with a question concerning what we have heard from the presentation? In case there is any burning question you have, kindly raise up your hand.
How do we access the slides? I'm going to, because I'm going to give a series of talks, I'll make a Google Drive, and I'll put the slides into the Google Drive and give access to Stephen and Ronald, and they can share the slides with you. Don't worry.
Okay. Yes.
What is it, Ronald?
That document we used for our planning would be one of those documents we use.
Yeah, I'll put all the resources on the Google Drive from, I'll just say lecture or workshop July 5th, and I'll put all the, or July 6th, and I'll put all the presentation and some PBL documents and all that also.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor. Someone is asking whether we shall have a series of sessions. The answer.
If you want me back, yeah. If you want me back. Oh, very good question. Fantastic question. How is project-based learning different from problem-based learning? And you're exactly right, Joseph. Many people don't understand the difference. There are some things that are the same, some things that are different. Project-based learning, the students have more freedom to pick the project, and it can be more open-ended. In the problem-based learning is also open-ended, but there is some boundaries. So you have to really give instructions. So the teacher plays an important role in problem-based learning to get them to, like, you know, they don't want to guess an answer like 50 million when the answer is only like 50,000. So you want to give them some boundaries. So the teacher plays an important role in problem-based learning. In the project-based learning, they may get 50 million, but they will fail and they will learn themselves. So there is a whole idea of students having their voice there. So, and then there is this time. Problem-based learning and project-based learning is usually over the entire semester or the whole year. A problem-based learning can be just for a little unit that you're teaching, and then another problem-based learning. So it can be little units. A project-based learning is usually longer. Okay, and so there is a lot of similarities and differences, and I will add a slide on that difference between problem-based and project-based when I actually send it to you, so you will see more differences and all that. Good question. Other questions? One more question, maybe. I know I went way over time. Sorry, I didn't watch that.
Okay, someone is asking about the recording. We are going to share the recording after this session. In the evening, you will just check on our WhatsApp group, but we can, yes, Professor, I'm requesting you to share your email.
Yeah,
people
sure.
want to reach on
yeah, share my email. Yes, yeah. They can send it to, yeah, so you could send it to either my Gmail or my, let me give you both. This is my email, but at gmail.com. The easiest thing would be to follow me on LinkedIn. Then I post a lot of important things there. So connect me through LinkedIn. And then when I post something, you know, feel free to like it and all that. So you will know what I'm sharing and all that. And Twitter as well. Like, it's my Twitter as well. So you can reach out. And through Stephen and Ronald also, you can reach out. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor, for taking us through this session. I'm very sure everyone has learned something from this workshop. This is just the start, but we are going to have very many sessions. So every month, for the remaining months up to November, we are going to have this kind of sessions every Thursday of the month, but we shall be letting you know the different dates. The professor is willing to take us through a series of sessions for next month, August, September, October, up to November. So we still have about more 5 sessions where the professor is going to be taking us through a series of things concerning ICT and project-based learning, problem-based learning. And I want you to mark your calendars that either we may choose the first Thursday of every month to be meeting here for this session. We want to thank the professor. Thank you so much. And we are going to open up the document. In case you have any question, we shall be placing our questions in that Google document. May I first hear from Ashu? Mr. Ronald, can we hear from you? From West Nile?
Stephen, can you hear?
Yes, Mr. Ronald, maybe turn off one of the, okay, yes. Then I'm going to ask that. Okay, you are clear?
We've had to switch off the main camera because of the feedback. Stephen, I've put in the chat what we agreed with the professor, the series of teacher talks, and to my friends who are still with me here in West Nile, this will run on August 3rd, 7th,
Mr. Ronald, we have lost you. Okay. Mr. Ronald was saying that our sessions are going to be running on August 3rd, September 7th, 5th of October, and 2nd of November. So those are the sessions that we are going to be having for this session. I'm going to ask Caroline to prepare and say something because I know she's a STEM leader. So Carol, prepare, and you say you're going to be saying something, but let me first check whether Ronald is back. Okay, Ronald is not yet back. Carol, are you ready? Okay. Then I'm going to ask the teachers who have been sitting in the staff room to take some photo of your colleagues, and then you are going to share with us. Then I'll ask you also. Okay, yes, Mr. Ronald.
All the dates. 7th September, 5th November.
Yes, you can go on.
5th October and 2nd November. Hello? Hello?
Hello, Mr. Ronald.
Maybe he can just type on the chat rather than talking. Maybe that'll be easier. Maybe.
Okay. I think that's what we shall do. Okay. I was asking whether Carol, are you ready? Okay. So we have said we shall have.
Yes, I am, Stephen.
Okay, I wanted you to say something to the teachers.
Okay.
Okay, Carol, you can go on.
All right, thank you very much, every one of us that has been into this session led by our very own Professor Padu. I would like to thank the organizers of this session. This is such a very, very interesting moment for us to be together, to continue improving ourselves, and of course, learning new things. Each moment you move out to interact with people, you discover lots and lots of things out there that we aren't aware of. For example, today I've learned something very, very critical from Professor Padu's session, that we need to promote the skill of failure. That really touched me. And why it really touched me is that—
Where are you calling from?
From Lusaka. Yes, let me continue.
Where are you calling from? Where are you calling from?
What really touched me about Professor Padu's presentation is that in our classrooms, among our learners, we need to encourage them to accept that failure is part of a life skill. And I appreciated it greatly because many things out there are successful only when you realize that you failed them. And because when you fail them, you improve yourselves. Unlike the kind of situation that has really put us in a situation of thinking that when you fail, you're actually misfit in the society, especially in the academic world. Professor, thank you very, very much. Thank you for introducing us to those apps. And also thank you for demystifying project-based and problem-based. I'm sure this is only the start. And with the many series of talks that we have, we are going to learn a lot from your presentation. We are going to learn from each other. I want to thank Mr. Dungu Ronald and Stephen. I want to thank Renew Uganda for putting this opportunity as a reality. I'm excited to see people from West Nile, and I'm seeing many faces on the screen of people that I know and have interacted with in STEM education. Thank you all. Thank you, head teachers that have been present in this session. And thank you all the teachers. I am not so sure if we have teachers from the humanities that have been part of this. Even if we talk about STEM, I think there are certain things that could be very useful for them in humanities, especially when we start talking about the project-based and problem-based kind of approach to learning that has been emphasized in the lower secondary curriculum that is ongoing. So I want to thank you all that have been present. It's worthwhile investing our time in building our professionalism. And I wish you all the best. I pray that you can be able to start something, because I'm aware that some schools have not even started on project work. But possibly for this little interaction we've had with Professor Padu, I think something rings in our mind that there are so many things out there that our children can engage themselves with and be able to have a project for themselves. To our very own Professor Padu, what started as a small interaction, because I started interacting with you way back during COVID time when you did an online presentation for me when we had the camp. And I'm happy that it started small and it is growing and growing big. Today I was able to see that we almost reached 80 in number, and I know the numbers were big, especially with those that are using our hub concept that started during the Comsteda conference. I want to thank you all. And I know that we are going to get more and more people joining on board. I also had a team from Zambia that was following through, although we're running 2 things at a go because we have lectures that are ongoing. Thank you, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol. Yes, Mr. Ronald?
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Ronald.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Ronald.
Yes, we are trying to troubleshoot here to see that we don't have the feedback. It is a learning process for us to see what is possible and what we can do with this sort of arrangement. But I'm happy that we have been able to have it happen here from West Nile in Uganda. Professor Padu, the day you come back, we shall bring you to West Nile so that you see the region and appreciate the good about Uganda. For my colleagues who have been online, our schools need to move ICT has come to stay. Project-based learning is one of those things that we must use. I'll be happy to continue following up with whoever is interested in this, especially my colleagues in West Uganda, West Nile, and Acholi region, but also all the other people joining in from the different places. I want to thank Professor Padu for offering us this chance and let us continue planning. And I want to thank you, Stephen, for the work you have done to connect all of us. And I hope that we shall continue working. With that, I want to hand over back to you, Stephen, and wish everybody to stay wherever they are. Let us continue working together.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ronald. Professor, do you have any last word for us?
No, I think this is great. Especially after hearing Caroline's, sometimes you wonder what happens after you give a lecture. And it's very interesting that Caroline took some of the most important things that I try to get people to understand is appreciating failure. I think that's great that she noticed that. It was very important that all educational systems should learn, because more we do that, there's several things that I showed. If you can take that one message back, I think that's very important. So we can encourage more kids to, learn from failure. And thank you. With that, I'll stop also.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Stephen?
Yes, Mr. Knight.
Stephen? I'm just testing to see if I was not using a microphone, how that would be.
This is much better.
Think we still need to learn how to work with a bigger audience.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Ronald. I want to thank the professor also. Thank you so much, Professor, for the wonderful presentation and also other teachings that you have really given us. We are really very grateful. And we want also to thank all the teachers that have really joined this call. Thank you so much. I want to thank the patterns, the Ministry of Education and Sports. I want to thank the Research Network of Uganda, UICT, and the Holistic Learning Platform who have been at the epicenter of this. Thank you so much. I want to thank all the head teachers, the teachers, and everyone who has joined this call. Thank you so much for joining this session. I want to let you know that we shall have more sessions, and there is a lot that we're going to learn going forward. With that, I want to thank you so much, and I want to wish you a good evening. We shall open up the WhatsApp group for everyone to send us his or her reflection from what the professor has taught us today, what we have learned from his presentation. And we are going to do what we call self-reflection. I learned this from Carol. She told me that after their session, they usually go in for a self-reflection. So we are going to open up a page where we are going to reflect on what the professor has taught us today. So please, this evening, make sure you get your pen and pencil, but we are going to do it online to have a self-reflection such that we can keep on learning together. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, bye, everyone.